5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
This is the Culture Clash.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Well, I'm back. Let's see if I remember how to do this. Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of Culture Clash Live here on the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel. Of course, it is episode 247. We've been gone a little bit. I've been a little busy. It's that time of year for you longtime Fandom Podcast Network fans to know real life adulting kicks in. But hey, we're back, and we're going to have a very fun episode of Culture Clash. We are going to do a little save from Fandom Oblivion with the Michael Bay film The Island, which we are very, very excited about. But I can't talk about this stuff alone. You don't want to just hear me. I appreciate it, but I know you don't. So first of all, I got to bring in my co-founder, soon to be international traveler once again, and a man who I know is a fan of the film The Island. Of course, he's the Raider Nerd, the one and only co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network, Mr. Kevin Reitzel.
I'd like to congratulate. I would like to congratulate Kyle Wagner. He has just won the lottery to go to the island and get all of your organs taken out of you. What's up?
Oh, hell no.
I'm excited to talk about this. The island. It's going to be an interesting discussion.
Yes, it is definitely going to be an interesting discussion. Which, we're talking movies. And Kevin, I feel we need another expert in here. Probably somebody who even outranks us on the movie scale.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, and she is.
I'm like in my green belt, but she's like in her third black belt. So yeah,
third. I was going 10th level, but she is the one and only queen of movie foo herself, Miss Lacee Adderhold.
Hello,
Lacee. Welcome again.
Hooray, hooray! How y'all fellas doing?
Doing good.
You're around here enough. We might have to give you permanent residency.
Right on.
Are you ready to talk some island later? Are you ready?
Yes, and I left my copy sitting over on the desk, and I was like, oh, but that's okay. I'll be fine.
Okay. But I do have an important question. How do I know that you're actually you and not a clone?
Well, as you can see right here, I am Pants 7 Foxtrot. I figured out the numbering system. So I figure Foxtrot's the one right after Echo. Yeah.
I'm Kevin Echo. Never mind.
I'm just Kyle Tax, number 23.
Nice.
I don't know, but that changes on the annual basis. But of course, thank you for joining us here on the Fandom Podcast Network. Whether you are listening to this on the audio podcast later on or watching live on YouTube, and if you are, please join in the chat. Give us your thoughts as we're going along, because we got a lot of things to talk about. Besides the island, we got some fandom news, and we got a very special edition of Buy It, Stream It, or and See It this week. It's going to be the Get Kyle Back into the Real World edition of Buy It, Stream It, or and See It. But we are going to have some fun. I am looking forward to talking about the island. There's just so many interesting conversations we're going to have, including a Michael Bay discussion that's going to be happening. So that's going to get really interesting. But first and foremost, before we do anything else, we want to tell you what is happening on the Fandom Podcast Network, because we're busy around here. Just don't think because I have to go to Planet Taxium and disappear for a while that Kevin doesn't do some pretty amazing things while I'm gone. And I got to give him a quick shout out because he has done amazing work while I have been incredibly tied up at work. So Kevin, I just got to make sure I give you the love and the shout out.
I appreciate that. I know where you're coming from, and so I was like, I gotta help out my buddy Kyle here and get some programming recorded and up there. And with your help in publishing, we're able to keep things going. So yeah.
So first up, the Union Federation is back. Star Trek Discovery, the final season is here, which means the return of the Union Federation podcast. Kevin, you and Amy Nelson, the co-captain, the counselor, she provides all the good booze on the Starship Union Federation. You guys have been kicking butt talking about Discovery so far. And I got to ask you, Kevin, because you are getting ready to travel internationally, so you're going to be gone for a little bit. And I haven't really had a chance to ask you. I know you've been of a mixed bag on Star Trek Discovery. How are you liking this final season so far?
I'm gonna wait to kind of give it till it's in. I mean, I liked how it started. I'll put it that way. But Discovery is still not. It's probably my least favorite Star Trek, for reasons, and I talk about that on the podcast because it's hard to connect Discovery to the rest of Star Trek because of the big time jump they took. There's some great characters and great acting on there, but I'm not a fan of the overall storyline that's going on. But I am excited about what they're going to be doing with the connection to TNG, the next generation that they have teased, and seeing where that goes. David Lozano's up there. What's up, dude? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. I know he's been buried in Wemby Mania because and if you're an NBA fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But to have you here, David. I got to get some Wemby stories from you later, but I'll tell
What
you.
is Wemby?
Mr. Wembiana, he is the rookie sensation in the NBA, and he happens to play for the team David Lozano follows. So.
Sports ball.
Okay, sports ball. Got it. Cool.
Yeah, there we go. Also, too, Kevin, we had a very, very special episode of Couch Potato Theater, including having somebody who I am proud to call a friend of the network join us as we talk the original Roadhouse. And Kevin, you have worked with the legendary Anthony DeLongis many times, and you were able to help us get him to come on and talk about not only Roadhouse but all the amazing work he does.
Yeah, Anthony DeLongis is a wonderful actor, stuntman, and black belt in martial arts. He's also a master at the bullwhip, as well as other things. And he's a man of many talents. I've actually taken bullwhip lessons from him. He's a wonderful guy. He and his wife Mary are awesome, and he plays one of the villains in Roadhouse. And so we hit him up, see if he wanted to talk about his experience on that. He did. We also talked about our thoughts on the newest Roadhouse as well. We talked a little Highlander, a little this, a little that. It was great to have him on.
And he sings. Did you see the link that he posted recently where he was on Moonlighting with Bruce Willis singing about on the chain?
Yeah, he has done a lot of work, and he was also famous for teaching the bullwhip to Michelle Pfeiffer for Batman 2, Batman Returns. And Michelle picked that up and was very successful with learning the bullwhip.
And it was a lot of fun. It's a great episode. And anytime we have Anthony on, it's a historical trip too. We get a lot of great stories. Definitely check that out. It's well worth it.
David Lozano is a fan of the new Roadhouse. You go, David. Love it.
A couple other Couch Potato Theaters we've done recently. Continuing with our success with Jean-Claude Van Damme, because we did a very popular Hard Target Couch Potato Theater. We did a little time travel. Of course, it is time travel year here at the Fandom Podcast Network as well. So what's more appropriate to do, Kevin, than Time Cop?
That's right. Lacey was on there for that, along with our buddy Adam O'Brien of the Lethal Mullet. It was really fun to dive into the time travel there. And then we did Rockstar Couch Potato Theater. We did a nice little crossover. We were celebrating the Mark Wahlberg film with Jennifer Aniston with my co-host of the Hair Metal Podcast, Mike Simmer. And that was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was. And speaking of Roadhouse, now we got multiple coverage here because I can't unsee this picture. I'm sorry to the viewers out there, but of course, the Lethal Mullet himself, Adam O'Brien, gave his thoughts on Roadhouse as well in the unique way that the Lethal Mullet can do. And so,
I don't know who the Facebook user is. So some of my favorite nerds. I love it. If you go onto YouTube, we can see who you are. Otherwise, let us know, Facebook user. Appreciate it.
Yep. Also, too, Kevin, you just put out a brand new episode with, of course, your co-host Lee of Blood of Kings, our Highlander podcast, and you return to the fixing. But this time around, you had a very special guest to help you with the fixing.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, we have been having fun with Highlander TV show lowest rated episodes, and we are basically talking about them and how we would fix them, and that's why we call it the fixing, a la the quickening. And Two of Hearts, which was a season 6 episode where they were having several standalone episodes of Female Immortals for a hopeful spinoff. And Claudia Christian from Babylon 5 fame guest starred in this episode. And this happened to be the lowest rated episode, but more fun. We actually had the director, Richard Martin, come on to talk about it, take the hits from Lee and I. We had some great behind the scenes, and Richard Martin is also a big fan from Highlander fans, because he's directed some of the coolest episodes, including Duende, which is one of the highest rated Highlander episodes that co-stars Anthony DeLongis. If you know, you know. So see how it all comes around the circle. And I just want to give a
It's
shout
6
out.
degrees of DeLongis around here.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we want to thank Richard for coming on. He was wonderful, great sport. It was great to talk to him about his Highlander's least favorite episode according to IMDb.
Well, too, guys, we had a holiday not that long ago, and a lot of people don't recognize it, which is their loss. But here at the Fandom Podcast Network, it's one of the main holidays around, and that was Rex Manning Day, which means we revisit our couch potato theater of the classic Empire Records. This was a great CPT. We had a ton of fun with it. I'm a huge fan of this movie. This was just fun, and every year on Rex Manning Day, we will recycle.
April 8th, you're going to be seeing this on the Fandom Podcast Network. Great show we did there. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Lacee, I know you're a fan.
Absolutely. I think that we should release it at 12:37 every year.
Facebook user says, "What's up?"
And of course, the journey of Time Warp will be continuing next week on the Fandom Podcast Network. Posting up will be the April 1984 episode of Time Warp, where we covered such things as Friday the 13th, the final chapter, Moscow on the Hudson, and Kevin, some interesting TV as well in April of 1984.
Yeah, we got Highway to Heaven and Real Life Twins starring in Double Trouble. They're the real sisters of Katie Seagal of Married with Children. I'm forgetting their names right now, but yeah, that was a lot of fun.
But it gets real when we hit May of 1984, which will be out in May. It's getting real because there ain't no stopping us, because we're talking Breaking, we're talking Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Firestarter, The Natural, Hard Bodies. Kevin, so many movies in May of 1984.
Summer season starts off, and it's going to be a fun discussion. Yeah. By the way, shout out to Adam saying what's up. I'm sure he was the one that says Rex mulleting as well. Good to see you, Adam.
Good to see you, Adam. Always good to have the mullet in the house.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that in a second.
I'm working on mine. It's slowly coming in. I'm growing my hair out after I shave my head, so I'm working on my mullet. It's
there you go.
Hey,
well, once
Kevin,
you get your mullet working in, we'll get you in on this podcast here, Lacee.
Right on.
You've been a little busy with some hair metal stuff too.
Yeah, we did that crossover with the Rockstar movie, and Mike and I actually talked about the soundtrack and the real live musicians that starred in the film as in the band that also put together a real album, and we talked about that. And then Mike and I wanted to celebrate one of the most metal things of all time, and that is the 1986 Hearing Aid. All the Stars song as an all-star album for Phantom Relief. This was the metal version of We Are the World, and the collection of metal artists and guitar players was amazing. And we talk about that song. We even play the song and let you know who's playing when and the history that this made. Unfortunately, it didn't make as much money as the other big charities, but it was just one of the most metal moments in music history.
And that will be dropping within the week on the Fandom Podcast Network.
Yeah.
But guys, we got a lot happening, a lot of things going on the network, but there's also things going on in the news. So without
Kyle, can we, before we go to the news, can we do some shout outs first, if you don't mind?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry, the brain is about half there, but yes, because there is some very exciting stuff going on, including Kevin. You're about to. Well, first of all, I'm going to say it now. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Well, I'm almost there. Yeah.
Well, there's a reason I'm telling you now.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes. Tomorrow I hop on a flight to Brisbane, Australia, and Adam is in the chat right now. And I think Blair might be watching as well. I'm going to be hanging out with Blair and Adam for the next few nights when I get in on Monday. And we're going to be doing a lot of nerding, a lot of physical meeting, and be watching some movies as well. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing my Aussie brothers. And I want to thank them right now live for making time to see me while I'm there. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Blair. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing them. And then on Thursday, I fly down to Melbourne to, of course, spend the rest of my stay there with my lovely wife, where we will be celebrating our anniversary on Alien Day, April 26th. And we're actually going to be watching a double feature of Alien and Aliens. So There's Blair. Hey, Blair. Good to see you, man. I'm looking
Blair,
forward to
good
it.
Blair and Adam, I had this conversation with Adam. I'm going to have it with you real quick, Blair, since I know you're watching. If I get a text or a call saying I have to find a new Culture Clash co-host, I'm coming after you both.
I just want to mention too, we have a lot of fun planned in Brisbane with Adam and Blair, so I'm excited for that. And my wife and I we're going to go see a USA Van Halen tribute band the first night I arrive. We're going to go see a Terminator on the big screen with a live orchestra. We're going to go to a Forbidden Forest Harry Potter night. We got a bunch of stuff planned and a possible original trilogy Star Wars marathon on May the 4th. So I got stuff planned.
You do have stuff planned.
And no, I am not going to be eating Vegemite ever again in my life. Lacee, what's going on with you?
Me? Well, I just got back from a convention last weekend. It was super fun. The Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo.
Wait. Lacee,
Yep.
I have a question about this.
Yes.
Were you saved by the bell at this expo?
I was also found. No, there were some really fun people. George Takei was there, and several Walking Dead folks, and Rachel Lee Cook from Josie and the Pussycats was there, and Mark Paul Gosselaar and Elizabeth Berkley were there. So that was really fun. It's a great convention. It's in Huntsville. It's in its this was its 9th year, so it's really starting to come into its own. And it's at the Von Braun Center. And if you don't know anything about Huntsville, there's a lot of other stuff you can do.
I love Huntsville. Good town.
Oh, yeah.
Trivia. Huntsville was the first time I had hot Krispy Kremes rolling off. The first time I ever had Krispy Kremes. Yeah.
Right on.
I actually have a story about Huntsville too.
Okay.
I attended the U.S. Space Academy before my freshman year of high school in Huntsville, Alabama, and I was
Kyle went to space camp. Yep.
Not only did I go to space camp, when we did our testing, I got to be the mission pilot, which was cool as all get out.
Very cool. Very cool. Yep. So there's axe throwing and like crazy, all kinds of fun stuff. So if you plan to go, you can start on Wednesday and do crazy stuff, and then do Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the convention. It was really fun.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? The one Rachel Lee Cook.
She's All That.
Turning 25 years old.
Yep. And she was super. She was just. First of all, she's tiny. Like, she's adorable and so little and sweet. She talked about all kinds of other projects she had done like early on and everything, and brought to my attention several things that I didn't know she had guested on, which was really fun. I love things like she was on Psych and a couple of other fun things, but yeah, it was very cool. So
Adam O'Brien says The Island is without doubt Michael Bay's best film outside all the franchise movies he does now. We're going to talk about that. Good call out there, Adam.
Right on. Cool.
So, I did tax returns. I don't know about the rest of you. But okay, guys, there is a lot going on in fandom. There's been some stuff going on that I want to hit up here. So without further ado,
let's use.
So we've got a lot of news to cover, and the first thing we need to talk about, though, is this. Ryan Gosling is having a moment, Kevin Reitzel.
Yes, let's talk about this real quick. First of all, he stars in Barbie as Ken, and you could debate who won the Barbenheimer, release the same weekend. I saw both the movies, same theater, same day. I did the Barbenheimer thing. Some really fun stuff happening with that. And then he does the Oscars. He does the Just Ken, just kills it, and then Slash comes on. It's wonderful. He's got the Fall Guy coming out very shortly. Going to see that actually with Adam and Blair in Brisbane. Looking forward to that. And then does one of probably the most funniest SNL skits in years, where he dresses up as Beavis and Mikey Day dresses up as Butthead for a very funny Beavis and Butthead skit on Saturday Night Live that the cast could not keep it together and laughing during the skit. One of the most funniest skits I've seen in a long time.
To be honest, I watched the whole episode, and yeah, that's good in particular. But that whole episode, Ryan Gosling could not keep a straight face through that entire episode, and it was causing the cast to crack up, and it was so fun to watch. And the chemistry he and Emily Blunt have makes me just excited to see the Fall Guy, because
she was there for she was there for his monologue, and there was obviously a shout out to the Ken and Barbie, and then they did a Fall Guy song, and she sang a song. It was great. I want to see him come back every year like Justin Timberlake did for a while. We need more Ryan Gosling doing comedy like this, and I'm excited to see the Fall Guy. I can't wait.
And you got to admit, like, him not being able to keep it together is saying something, because if you see him on any like talk shows, he's got some Graham Norton episodes that are so funny, and he's just so reserved and so quiet, and he's very much a man of few words. He answers questions he's very succinct.
Yeah.
Even when he's telling stories. And so when you see this, and he's just not able to.
I want to give a shout out to our friend Matt Clifton, Kyle, because he put up a really funny post where I forget, I'm going to paraphrase here. He says, somebody said that Ryan Reynolds peaked at the Oscars, and then he said no, and then he put up the Beavis and Butthead picture.
But you did it again. You said Ryan Reynolds.
Did I see Ryan Reynolds again? I'm sorry. Ryan Gosling. Sorry. Lots of Ryans here. But that was very funny.
Right on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the next piece of news this is a big one for me personally. This was actually announced a few weeks ago, and it's actually somewhat shocking. But Disney Plus, which is evolving it seems like every week they're changing up something or they're adding something. They have secured the worldwide streaming rights to the Macross shows. Now, for those in the US who may not be quite as familiar, think Robotech, because Robotech, the Macross saga of Robotech was the original Macross series. This is huge because Macross, especially in the US, has been stuck because of a legal situation with the company Harmony Gold. And they finally reached an agreement to bring the additional Macross shows over to the United States, and they will be coming out in Blu-ray releases and with the Disney Streaming Plus. There is one caveat to this, though, at least for US fans, that's really a disappointment because of the legal standing of that situation. The original Macross film, Do You Remember Love, and the original Macross television series will not be streaming on Disney Plus in the US. However, Macross 7, Macross Plus, Macross 2, Macross Delta, Macross Frontier will all be on the Disney Plus for the first time ever in the United States, available legally. Let's just put it that way. And I am really excited about this. This is a huge deal. Macross is one of the biggest franchises in the history of anime, and this is a huge surprise and a huge get for Disney Plus, Kevin.
Okay. Right now, I don't care about all other stuff. This is all I care about right here. The original Robotech, Macross Saga, the Masters, and the Next Generation. If they don't carry this, it doesn't count in my mind. I'm sorry. I have it on iTunes and digital. I bought it all. I have it on Blu-ray and stuff like that. I don't know about all that other stuff, Kyle. I'm glad you're excited, but I don't care. If you're not going to carry these, I'm not even going to give it a shot. I will be willing to give it a shot if you start streaming these Disney Plus.
Yeah, I don't think that's coming to Disney Plus, but you can find it on Crunchyroll. So.
I do have this, though. I do have the Shadow Chronicles, but I have not watched this in like over 15 years.
I've never heard of any of it.
No, that's okay. Not everybody, but if you are a fan of anime or even of science fiction, you are at least a little bit familiar with Robotech or Macross. And like I said, this is a pretty huge deal. I'm excited. I can't wait to see what it's going to look like. And
Adam loves these, and he knows what we're talking about here.
Yeah, absolutely.
The picture of the little girl in the middle on the front, the bottom, that reminds. It looks kind of like the little girl from Kiki's Delivery Service. Am I mixing genres? That's Mizuyaki.
No, it's anime. She's a character from the Macross Delta series, which is the most recent Macross series. So, but yeah, very exciting time for anime fans, and this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out and what it could lead to the future for Disney Plus getting involved in anime. So.
And that legitimately wraps up every bit of my knowledge of anime. Like that one sentence
there you go.
Encapsulated. I'm good. Okay.
Well, next up, a little bit of news, and we're going to be talking about the show a little bit later, but Amazon announced today that Fallout has been picked up for a second season. I have not had a chance to watch this yet. I will be all in on Fallout because of Walton Goggins. But Kevin, I know you've been watching Fallout.
I just finished it.
And we'll talk more about the show itself a little later. But are you excited to hear that Fallout is being picked up for a second season, Kevin?
Yes, especially the way it ended.
So there we go. Lacey, have you watched it yet, or?
I have not, but I'm really getting into the idea of some of these video games because I love to watch video games. I'm just not really good at playing them. So Fallout's one that I'm interested in, and then the other one is Borderlands. I saw the trailer for that the other night that looked really good.
Yeah. So video game movies starting to actually get better.
Isn't there a new Jack Black, Jason Momoa one? It's is it Minecraft or?
I think it's Minecraft. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah.
Lots of and I'll watch Walt Goggins read a phone book. Yeah. So
next up, this is one that again is something a little bit personal for me. The show Heels, which was on the Stars, it was told the story of a local wrestling federation, but it starred Stephen Amell, of course, of Arrow fame. It got canceled during COVID. The second season, the second season ended on a major cliffhanger. Well, Michael Malley, who created the show with Stephen Amell, has been shopping around, and Netflix has picked up the rights to do a third season of Heels, but there is a catch, and Netflix created this problem themselves. You guys remember what happened over last summer and the show Suits got really, really popular on Netflix?
Yep.
It got so popular that it's brought a spinoff. And guess who was cast to be in the lead role of the Suits spinoff, which is going to take place in LA? One Stephen Amell. So while he is definitely on board for coming back to Heels, it's going to be delayed a little bit because he's a little busy filming the new Suits spinoff series. So
good for him. That's cool. That should be a fun show.
So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to the return of Heels. Even if we get one season that wraps up the storylines they had, it was a very underrated show, and I don't think it got a lot of proper support because of the strike and a few other things. So I'm excited about that as well. And then Kevin, I know this one's the next couple pieces of news are probably not going to sit real well with you, but Paramount has announced that they are going to do a Transformers G.I. Joe crossover film. Kevin, this was set up at the end of the last Transformers film. I got to ask, are you excited? Because I know how you feel about when G.I. Joe and Transformers crossover.
Yeah, I was never a fan of that in the comics and stuff like that. I like them to keep it separate, but they're intended to make this a thing. My only thing is I will be open to it as long as they don't F up the G.I. Joe side again, like they did with Snake Eyes.
Yeah. So
if they can do G.I. Joe properly, like they teased at the end of Rise of the Beast, the recent Transformers movies, and actually, listen to the fans and just pay homage to the actual source material and don't try to turn it into something else. If they can do that, we'll see.
Lacey?
I was going to ask where the crossover, but you answered my question. You said it's in the end of Rise of the Beast.
Yeah, and it was a credit scene or a mid-credit scene.
I still haven't. I just got it. I haven't actually watched it yet, so that'll be
the young boy in this, or teenage boy in this movie is being recruited by a G.I. Joe representative.
Okay, fancy. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
cool.
Also up next, which I am very excited about, is it has been announced that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles story, The Last Ronin, which if you are a fan of old school Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles before they went to the animation and blew up and became a huge thing, those original comics are some of the most hardcore comics you will find. And This Last Ronin was in the spirit of those comics. It is a dark story. This is planned to be an R-rated Turtles film. It's a phenomenal story, and I am very excited to see what they can do with this. Again, Kevin, I know you like your Turtles in a different manner, but anybody who's read this, everybody who I've introduced to the story has absolutely loved it, and I can't wait for them to do this.
Are they going to have Jeremy Renner voice the? No. Okay.
It's all in preliminary stages, but Paramount Plus announced it at CinCon just a couple weeks ago. But Kevin,
go ahead.
No, I was.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I thumbed through this omnibus because I didn't buy the individual comics. I was kind of curious about it. I knew about the concept of it, that basically the only turtle that's left is Michelangelo, and he's my favorite turtle. But I couldn't finish it. I just couldn't start it. I don't want to see a sad future where all the turtles are dead except for one. I don't care if it's rated R. I don't care if it's violent. I need my turtles to be together, and that's how I feel. I might eventually check it out out of curiosity because I'm curious about the director and what he's done. But I'm not excited for this because I can't get myself to read that book because I don't like the concept. I know a lot of people do, but that's not how I like my turtles. I need all my 4 brother turtles to be together.
I think that's fair, but I like I said, this could, if they do it right, this could be something really, really good. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with it. But we'll definitely be following the stories on this. But this last piece of news, Kevin, I found very interesting. Edgar Wright is going to be doing a reimagining of The Running Man with right now Glenn Powell attached to play the Arnold Schwarzenegger role. This definitely has my curiosity peaked.
I have said that Glenn Powell's stardom is on the rise, and he should be getting roles like this. He should be getting major lead actor roles, especially after his very successful rom-com with Sydney Sweeney, Anyone But You, and of course his parts in Top Gun Maverick and what was it, Devotion as well, Devotion. the Korean War film. He I think is the male actor that we need to be on the lookout for right now because he's charismatic, he's good looking, he's funny as F, really. And I think he could pull this off. And you had me at Edgar Wright, obviously huge fan of him, and of course Scott Pilgrim and Shaun of the Dead and all those films. So I think that Edgar Wright is going to pay good homage to the source material. I'm fine with Running Man being remade. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion, especially with Glenn Powell. I'm really excited to see who's going to fill out that cast.
Yeah, I would say Glenn Powell and Austin Butler are probably the 2 biggest on the rise male stars in Hollywood right now. Lacee, I am very fascinated about what Edgar Wright could do with the world of The Running Man.
It's going to be interesting. Running Man was originally Stephen King, right?
Yep.
Got it. So, I think that, like you said, Glenn Powell is having a moment. Speaking of people who are having moments, I think the next one he's got coming up that's already slated, it's already filmed, is The Hitman, which looks like it's going to be really good. It's a romantic comedy about an officer who pretends to be a hitman to catch people who are trying to, murder people, hire a hitman. But then he falls in love with one of his marks, which is just delightful. Sounds like it's going to be great. So.
Well, guys, that is going to wrap up the news segment, which is going to take us into something a little fun here. So with that, it's time for a little
buy it, stream it, or unsee it.
But oh no, this is no ordinary edition of Buy It, Stream It, or Unsee It. This is the get Kyle back into the real world version of Buy It, See It, where he relies on his good friends Kevin and Lacee to give him updates of what he should see and what he should try to maybe avoid because he's missed so much over the last couple months. So guys, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Of course. This. So first up on the list, a movie, of course, spoiler alerts too. We will be talking about some of these films a little bit spoilery, so be prepared.
You did do the spoiler sound. You did the spoiler.
Wait. We can do that. I must hit the button for Kevin. and of course, too, thanks to our friends at Letterboxd, we've been having a lot of fun keeping track of our movies. I got a lot of catching up to do. Kevin, what are you up to this year?
I'm at so we're in the middle of April here. I'm at 134 films. It would have been more, but I've been watching a lot of TV lately. So,
what about you, Lacee? Where are you at?
I don't even know. I didn't even look. I've just been kind of enjoying the huge flow, and also I've been doing some TV as well. I got caught in Found after this past weekend, and it's so good.
Yes, I actually got sucked into that show as well. I'm a Mark Paul Gosselaar fan. I watch anything he does, and I was really enjoyed Found.
I just want to give a
Maybe-
shout out to Adam again because he inspired me to watch Cyborg with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And I had Cyborg 2, which came out in 93, which starred young Angelina Jolie at 17 years old with Elias Koteas and what's his name? I'm forgetting his name now. Jack Palance as well. So I enjoyed that double feature. It was fun.
So I have a little confession about Cyborg. It's great for my insomnia.
Little trivia, by the way, the costumes were supposed to have been used for another film, and that was Masters of the Universe 2 that never happened.
Yeah.
And of course, we got to welcome into the show the Ghostbusters Quick Response Unit.
What's up, Chris? Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see Chris. But let's talk about some movies that I haven't had a chance to see that I'm curious about and looking forward to your guys' reports. And the first one up is a movie I am very intrigued by, and that's the new Dev Patel film, Monkey Man. Kevin, I know you've seen this. Lacey, have you seen this?
I haven't. I got about 3 minutes in, and something happened with the thing, and they had to walk everyone out and give us free passes. So I'll be going back sometime the next week.
Okay, Kevin. I've heard from several people that this is a movie that I definitely need to see. It's right up my alley. I trust your judgment. What are your thoughts on Monkey Man?
I enjoyed it. It's not a great film, but I really enjoyed the storyline of Dev's character. It's your basic revenge flick, and when he takes steps to get into this kind of underground high culture in India to get closer to the people that killed his wife, basically, and he does some Indian version of UFC underground fighting as this character, the Monkey Man with his mask, and he slowly kind of integrates his way into this high society hidden world, which I found fascinating since it's all filmed in India to get to where he needs to go. And Dev did a great job fighting. There was some good choreography in there.
And he directed it as well, right?
Yep. And he directed it as well. Yeah. So he was a busy man. I'm not necessarily going to say see it in the theater, but definitely stream it. If you want to do it. My only issue was it was just a little too long, but there were some good performances in it. So I'm going to give it right on the border of stream it / buy it.
Okay. So I do have one question for you on this, Kevin, because it's something you and I are very particular about too, was how did it looks like Dev really went into some hardcore training for this film. Is it noticeable on screen?
It is, yeah. And there's some very clever fighting camera action as well. And you can tell that he really literally, blood, sweat, and tears in this film. And I applaud him for that.
Very cool. Yeah. That is definitely one I am as high on my checkout list. Next up, we talked about it a little earlier. I'm going to start watching it hopefully here in the next day or so. Fallout, Kevin. Lacey, you said you haven't had a chance to watch it. I have heard nothing but good about Fallout.
Yeah.
Fallout. And my love for Walton Goggins goes back beyond Justified. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Walton Goggins is it. I can't remember everyone else's name in it. But keep in mind, I'm coming from someone who knows nothing about the video game. I've seen plenty images from it, so I don't get all the Easter eggs and all the shout outs to a lot of the stuff to the game. But this series sucked me right in, and visually it's fantastic. The set period is fantastic. The combination of future / 60s, 70s kind of technology is fantastic. The costumes are fantastic. I hadn't said that already. Performances are good. It's violent as well. And Walton Goggins is great because you get his future him, where he's kind of the creepy cowboy guy with the ghouly face, but you get a lot of flashbacks setting up him from his family before Armageddon happens and nukes go off and stuff like that. And the different pockets of people that are living in this wasteland afterwards, and the power struggle for it. Sets are fantastic. Just see it. I got sucked right into it. That's the reason why I stopped watching some movies, because I ended up marathoning all this 8-episode series, I believe it is. It took me about a little less than a week to finish it. So yeah, it's fantastic.
Is Fallout the one that has like the little blonde boy that's always doing this on the cover?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
Is it with the little with the soda
Yep.
caps?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So okay. Thank you.
Up next, guys, and Ghostbusters. Chris, I'm glad you're here. You might be able to throw in your opinion in the chat. I would love to hear it. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Lacey, have you seen it?
I have. I very much enjoyed it. I think that Paul Rudd, again, I'm pretty sure he's some sort of living, I don't know what's going on. He doesn't age. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but I very much enjoyed it. Loved the direction they've taken it. Not to get too spoilery because I know you haven't seen it. Good follow-up to the previous one. And
Afterlife.
yes,
Afterlife.
and I'll leave it at that. Just lots of good comedy, a couple of really good scares, because I'm not big on horror, but I do like the occasional, kind of jump scare. So yeah, very cool.
Kevin, what about you? Your thoughts on Ghostbusters? And I've got a specific question for you too, because you and I have this conversation about it paying tribute to where it came from, and we thought Afterlife did a very good job with that. Does Frozen Empire continue to build on that?
Chris says, by the way, it's not Citizen Kane, but it's a good sequel. I would agree with that. I enjoyed the fact that they brought it back to New York, which was great. Paul Rudd was great. I am enjoying the new cast, the younger kids, and I'm really happy that they brought the old cast back, the old Ghostbusters. Could have seen a little bit more of that. I was questioning the whole bad ghost thing and the timing of it and that kind of situation. But Walter Peck was back as well. I thought that was funny. He came back. But I think there's something about Afterlife for me that hit home a little bit more. I'm not sure if it was just the whole thing with Harold Ramis, maybe. Because his offspring's obviously in this, and they have a new team kind of helping them a little bit. I don't know. I just felt there was something missing a little bit from it, but it still was fun. It was entertaining, but I didn't think it was as good as Afterlife. Just my 2 cents.
And I did love the kind of the interaction between Paul Rudd and the mom. Some of that comedy was just fantastic.
Yeah, Carrie Coon, I'm a huge fan because she was in the Gilded Age. She's the lead star of the Gilded Age, and I love her. And it was nice to see her in a different role and seeing them as a married couple. And Paul Rudd just going, I got to do this, just busting ghosts. He's like, don't say it. It makes me feel good.
Blair has weighed in on the Paul Rudd not aging thing. So
okay, right on.
I thought he was just sucking down unicorn blood. That's what I thought he was doing.
I gotta say, I loved McKenna Grace in the first one and in Afterlife. So I'm really looking forward to seeing her performance in this as well.
Blair said Paul Rudd drinks imported Brisbane water for that youthful glow. Looks like I know what I'm drinking when I get there.
So Kevin, is buy it?
It's definitely a buy it for me. I'll definitely buy it on physical media, and I am gonna enjoy watching it again.
Same for me. Yep.
The Godzilla Renaissance continues. Godzilla Kong: The Lost Empire. Now, I will say this. This is probably the one I'll go see first because I need something where I can kind of just shut my brain off and go for the ride for a little bit here. And I know what this is a watch big creatures on the big screen beat each other up kind of film. I am sure of it. But Kevin, I know you have seen this. What were your thoughts on Godzilla Kong?
I just went in with low expectations to see big monsters destroy things and stuff. And the thing that I got from this was it actually held my attention. I didn't go in expecting much. I went with low expectations, like I said, but there was moments that I enjoyed. And the fact that they spent a lot of time in the underworld of Earth, basically finding more different creatures, finding other humans, I'm just going to leave it at that, was interesting, and how they kind of tied that together. But I got to give it, dude, I'm a Kong guy now. The way that they portrayed Kong in this was kind of like think of like a badass, like father-y type Kong character. He's gray. He's got this kind of gray beard. He's got this Kong dad body going on a little bit, but he's still kicking ass and taking names, and he's like, they find other, like, you obviously see the trailer, you find the baby Kong, and there's some other Kongs, and there's a struggle thing. He totally outshines Godzilla. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And I guess Godzilla has a certain napping ground in Italy, which I don't want to spoil. I'm like, why is that a thing? Why is he there? And yet he still can just stomp around and destroy things that are thousands and thousands of years old. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, whatever. And Kong and Godzilla run faster than I've ever seen them run before. But they add more to the lore, which I find interesting. And of course, monarchs are in there as well. But I just found myself relating to Kong in so many ways, especially the reactions you have in his face when he has to deal with shit is like someone of my age going, a Gen Xer looking at like a millennial, doing, not understanding what you're saying, it's a stream it. I'm not going to buy it. If you want to see these guys team up together, but my Oscar goes to Kong himself and the way that he did it. I was falling in love with Kong.
You just won the internet by saying that Kong has a dad bod.
Yeah,
that's hilarious. Like that's,
yeah. He's totally freaking relatable. As a middle-aged guy myself, I found Kong so relatable, especially the way he was doing things, the way that he would look at certain people and give the Kirk eye and like, I give it up to the people that animated him. It was fantastic.
Nice.
Lacey, have you seen it?
No, but I'm going to now because now I got to go see Gen X dad bod Kong.
The exciting thing for me is this movie actually has finished #1 in the box office and done some good monies, and they have already announced that Monarch, the show on Apple TV, is going to be back for a second season. So we're not done with this monsterverse that Legendary Films has built anytime soon. It's fun, whether you like the movies or not. It's fun, and that's something we all need.
Just saying, the Godzilla is kind of paint by numbers in this movie. He's Godzilla, but it's hard to kind of really root for this Godzilla after Godzilla -1.
Yeah,
got it. So is this the 5th movie in the Monarch series?
No, I think it's the
4th.
Godzilla, Kong, Skull Island, King of Monsters, Godzilla versus Kong, Monarch series in this.
Okay.
So
got it.
Okay, guys, up next, I don't know if either of you have seen this. This is a movie I'm very intrigued to see, and that is Civil War.
I have not seen it. I have a date with my wife to see it when I'm in Australia. I know Adam's seen it. I think he was a little underwhelmed by it, but I'm very excited to see this.
Lacey?
I don't think that we need to see it because I think we're about to see it in real life. Like I'm not trying to be like fatalistic. It's there are some things happening, and I'm just like, y'all, what are you? Really?
Yeah.
Like every day I see the news, and I'm like, okay, is this the day? Do I need to have a bunker in my backyard? Like, is this the day? Every time I look at the news. So,
so Kevin hasn't seen it yet. I have not seen it yet, and Lacey's waiting for real life. So, okay, guys. Next up is something I want to talk about, and it's X-Men '97. I did get caught up with this the other night. Of course, the continuation on Disney Plus of the classic Fox X-Men cartoon in the 1990s. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this. I know a lot of people have this really warm spot for it, and I watched the first episode and I was like, eh. As I continued watching it, it just gets better and better. And episode 5 of X-Men '97 blew me away. This is one, if you're a parent, you want to watch that episode with your kids because it's that impactful and that powerful and that much of a adult storyline. And what I'm loving about this too is they're doing some of the classic X-Men stories of like the early 90s right now, and they're doing a pretty faithful job of it. The animation is solid, the voice acting is very good. It takes you back to that nostalgia factor, but it's giving you something different too. And I've been very impressed with what they've done with this. I would recommend, even if you just had a passing interest in the original X-Men Fox cartoon, give it a shout out. Kevin, did you ever watch the original X-Men show?
No, I never got into the animated series, so I'm kind of I'm sitting on the sideline with that. But I am hearing fans of it though are really impressed with this, and I think that's great. I'm glad that they went back to where they're nostalgia and just did it justice.
Lacey, did you ever partake
No,
in the X-Men?
Ross Marquand was at the convention last weekend, and I was talking to him, and he asked me if I had started it yet. And I said, no, I'm hoping to get into it the next week or week or next. And he said, get into it before you hit 5 and 6 because it's about to get nuts. And I was like, okay.
And for those who don't know, of course, Ross Marquand, who is from The Walking Dead, he is the voice of Professor Xavier in X-Men 97.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So, okay, guys.
And real quick, X-Men 97, the Wolverine outfit is the one that we've been seeing Hugh Jackman in for Deadpool and Wolverine, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
That's pretty much. There's two classic Wolverine ones. That one, and then there's the kind of brown and tan, dark brown and tan and orange one. But they pretty much have stuck with that yellow blue one now for a very long time. So.
Gotcha.
But with that, guys, that's going to wrap up this edition of Buy It, Stream It, or Unsee It.
Oh, wait.
What? Lacey?
Wait. Yes, I saw the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
No spoilers because it just came out. But what did you think?
It came out yesterday, or it came out today, actually. But it was phenomenal. Guy Ritchie is back. He's had a couple of kind of like off and on the last 6 movies of his. It's kind of I've liked one, didn't like it, liked one. This one is
it was hit or miss for you.
Yeah, no, but this one was really good. It is it's based on the declassified documents from Winston Churchill, where they declassified everything in 2017 or 2016, and it's basically the story that started Ian
Fleming,
and
James Bond fame.
James Bond, yeah. So it was very well done, and it's really good, and I really enjoyed it.
Okay, I'm gonna ask one quick question that's not spoilery.
Yep.
How's Alan Ritchson in it? Because
So
I'm a huge fan of him.
He's so good.
Alan Ritchson is the one that plays the new Reacher. In case you don't know,
and he also had Aquaman under his belt from back in the Smallville days.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he's so good. So Alan Ritchson, Hero Fiennes, Henry Golding, Carrie Elways, so many people, so many good people.
I can't wait to see that.
Well done. I would say like unsee it just so that I can see it again. It's that.
That's a new one. So.
Very much.
That's a new one. There, is it so good you'd unsee it so you could see it again for the first time?
Yes.
So I'm assuming you're gonna buy it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna. I'll be purchasing this in quick measure as soon as it is available.
Is there any end credit scene or anything like that we should know about?
There's a kind of because it's based on real people. They have cards at the end which tell you about how the real people fared after.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So
yeah. Any movie that shows people, making sure the Nazis don't get what they want, I love.
Yes.
There we go. Well, now that will wrap up this edition of Buy It, Stream It, or Unsee It. But don't worry, we're not done yet here at Culture Clash because it's time to proceed on our way to Oblivion. It is time. It is time to find out if we are going to save the 2005 Michael Bay film starring Ewan McGregor and a very young Scarlett Johansson at this time from Oblivion. Mr. Reitzel.
I think we should clarify why we're doing this. For those of you that don't know, you're listening or watching, we have come up with a segment called Save from Fandom Oblivion. And what we do is we kind of scour our fandom of previous films that we love and dearly watch all the time that haven't been getting the love, the discussion, the reverence of that they should, like a lot of cult films or a lot of box office films that are popular. And there's certain movies out there that we find that, hey, I love that movie too, but no one's talking about it. And they've fallen into this fandom oblivion. So we're doing these shows, Save from Fandom Oblivion. We're resurrecting them and asking the question, should they be saved from Fandom Oblivion or should they stay in Oblivion?
Yes. Now, I'm going to give you a brief description of the film for those of you who might not be familiar. Mr. Reisel, if you would, while I'm reading the description, would you care to control the slides? So,
Of course.
to show some people the slides while I'm reading the description. Out in 2005, directed by Michael Bay, this film is about Lincoln Six Echo, played by Ewan McGregor, who struggles to fit into the highly structured world in which he lives, isolated in a compound, and the series of events that unfold when he questions how truthful that world is. After Lincoln learns the compound inhabitants are clones used for organ harvesting as well as surrogates for wealthy people in the outside world, he attempts to escape with Jordan Tuba Delta, played by Scarlett Johansson, and expose the illegal cloning movement. Now, guys, this movie came out in 2005. Michael Bay was just on the upswing at this point. He was really starting to get a name. This is a film that really kind of brought Scarlett Johansson into the picture for the general populace, and of course, Ewan McGregor. And you have to give the creepy eye thing.
Remember the little eye robots? Yeah, I got to show that one. That was creepy.
No.
I think Lacey's squirming too.
This movie had a phenomenal cast in it. Sean Bean, obviously Ewan McGregor, Scarlett Johansson, Diamond Hunsaw, Steve Buscemi, Michael Clark Duncan, Ethan Phillips, for you Star Trek fans out there. The question is, guys, is this a movie that should be saved from oblivion? And before we do that, I want to get your initial thoughts after you saw this movie for the first time. Lacey, I'm going to start with you. When did you see this for the first time, and what were your thoughts on it?
Oh gosh, you know what? I don't even know when I saw this for the first time. I mean, I think it was when it came out, probably on physical media. I don't know that I saw this in the theater. I don't think it was in the theaters very long. For some reason, I don't think I saw it in the movie theater. I want to say that I saw it maybe on DVD when it came out.
Kevin?
I saw this in the theater. Definitely. I love the trailer. And I like Michael Bay films. I like his style of action. We'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, I was all over it. And of course, Ewan McGregor was, kind of getting out of the Obi-Wan Kenobi phase of his life. Because, he previously, of course, was in Star Wars recently after this or before this. And Scarlett Johansson was on the rise and crushing on her as well. And I was kind of curious. I wasn't sure exactly the twist or what it was going to take. And I was pleasantly surprised. I liked the concept of it. But what's interesting, Kyle, is so we get these clones that are living in this underground world, and they're being lied to of why they exist, because people with a lot of money are trying to, of course, find their way to immortality by having their own clones made. So in case something happens to them, they can harvest their organs or whatever it is. And then they also got the side story where they're like selling off babies that people can't have in the real life by having women have babies, and then they kill the women. I mean, it's depressing. It's hardcore. And, when it's all exposed, you're like, oh, thank God. But there's a lot of things about this movie that I like. But I got to give a shout out to another earlier film that dealt with the cloning. That is The Sixth Day, right here with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And there was, remember the sports star football player that died on the field, but he was resurrected because his clone, and that got into cloning. And this is when cloning was kind of becoming like a hot topic. We had Attack of the Clones, of course, with Star Wars, but they were starting to clone like animals, and it's become one of these things. And I think there was some legislation put in about anti-cloning this or whatever, and now we obviously know more through it a lot with Star Wars. But this was an interesting thing of like what would happen in the near future if they did this, and how people with a lot of money in nefarious ways try to live longer. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, and visually it was fantastic as well.
I laugh because it at one point they say it's 2015. For
yes.
The events of this film.
Yeah, and it came out in 2005. So yeah, it was like a few years later, which I find that was interesting. So, but I like this movie too because it had a really cool futuristic look. If you look at the slides that we have here, especially when they're inside the cloning facility, but then when they get out and Steve Buscemi's character is helping them out, they get into a somewhat future world, and you see some technology. You see some great action scenes as well. course, Sean Bean here playing the villain overseer of the cloning material. Michael Clark Duncan realizing like, oh no, he ain't going to the island. He's being harvested for his
Liver.
human parts, basically. And it just had some great action scenes. Everyone kind of had their moments. And one of my favorite moments, of course, is when Ewan McGregor plays against himself, when his real human self, who is having issues with his liver because of having a lot of promiscuous sexual activity in his life, is wondering why his product is there in his house. And one of the great roles, Jamin Hunsu, who is hired in him and his mercenary team to basically track these guys down, finds out what's really going on. And he kind of takes a turn, which is really cool. But there's some great action scenes. These jet hover bikes. I mean, really good Michael Bay action in these, if you're a fan of that. So,
I would say this too is pretty much right when Diamond Hudson was really having a huge moment in Hollywood too.
Yeah, Blood Diamond. He had done Blood Diamond already.
He had the ER appearance. He did Amistad. He had done a few things. So yeah. I have a few fun trivia facts on this film. The black and white commercial featuring Sarah Jordan wasn't shot specifically for the movie. It was actually a commercial starring Scarlett Johansson. Michael Bay told the actors playing the clones that they were essentially children. That's why a lot of them have this kind of childish innocence here, and it was something fun for the actors to play. The Cadillac CN, driven by Lincoln Six Echo, is a one-off concept car built for the 2002 Detroit Auto Show. The car was named to celebrate Cadillac's 100th anniversary, CN being the Spanish word for 100. Powered by an experimental 750 horsepower, 7.5-liter V12 engine, it features a rear mid-engine, rear-wheel drive powertrain and a carbon fiber composite body, and I'm betting it gets really bad gas mileage.
Gorgeous car.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. And hold on, I think I know I played the picture here earlier, but I want to show it. Great chase scene with the was it the
going too far?
Sorry, I'm going too far. I'll find it here. But yeah, great chase scene. They always do a really good job with the vehicles in this movie, and I'll bring it up right here. I think I have it. There we go. Yeah, there you go on the bottom right with the helicopter. Great, beautiful car.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Michael Bay had Ewan McGregor add the line, "Wow, that thing is amazing," after Scarlett Johansson French kisses him on the stairs, because that's what he actually said to the first girl who ever French kissed him. Her name was Meg. Imagine what a geek I was when I said that, McGregor is quoted as saying.
When you rewatch that scene too, Ewan does a really good job of not really kissing well at first and kind of letting Scarlett Johansson's character take over.
So, Lacey, you brought this up. This about it not being in the theaters long. The Island grossed just about $12.5 million in over 3,100 theaters in its opening weekend, in fourth place behind Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Wedding Crashers, and Fantastic Four. The film only went on to gross about $36 million domestically and about $127 million in other markets, for a worldwide total of almost $163 million. So it did not do well in the box office. Of course, if we're talking about movies, we got to at least get in the thoughts of course, our good friend Roger Ebert, who said the first half is a sparse, creepy science fiction parable, and then it shifts into a high-tech action picture. Both halves work. Whether they work together is a good question. Ebert gave the film 3 out of 4 stars and praised the performances of the actors, in particular Michael Clark Duncan. He has only 3 or 4 scenes, but they're of central importance, and he brings true horror to them. On the critical side, he said the film never satisfactorily comes full circle and missed the opportunity to do what the best science fiction does and use the future as a way to critique the present. So Raj with an interesting take on this. But guys, if we are talking the Island, it brings up a discussion that we needed to have on the Culture Clash for a good while, Kevin. We need to have a Michael Bay discussion, because there was a point where a Michael Bay film was a license to print money and a must-see thing. And somewhere along the line, it's turned. There's a lot of criticism of Michael Bay. There's people who have a lot of fun at his expense.
Okay, So let's first of all list the Michael Bay movies that he's directed. And I just found out he's directed a lot of rock videos, several hair metal videos I'm a fan of. And that's kind of got how he got to start the business. But his first big film in 1995 was Bad Boys. Then he does The Rock in 1996. He does Armageddon in 1998, Pearl Harbor in 2001, Bad Boys 2 at 2003, The Island 2005, Transformers 2007, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen 2009, Transformers Dark of the Moon 2011, Pain and Gain 2013, Transformers Age of Extinction 2014. He does 13 Hours at 2016, Transformers The Last Night at 2017, Six Underground at 2019, and his most recent film, which I haven't seen yet, Ambulance in 2022.
So first of all, I want to say I found Ambulance to be a fun, enjoyable film. So you definitely need to check that out, Kevin. But
the trailer seemed very dark to me. Is it traditional, like fun, explosive kind of Michael Bay, or is it felt the commercial made it feel sort of dramatic-y, and
it has a dramatic side, but you still have all the classic Michael Bay elements in it too. And actually Jake Gyllenhaal is very good in it. So let's have the Michael Bay discussion here, because I think that Michael Bay has a place in Hollywood that he is doing things that nobody else is doing in Hollywood. And he's kind of in a way giving us that traditional action film, and with just some things that people aren't doing that much of anymore. I know that there's some of the knocks on him or some of his gratuitous shots, so many explosions, this and that, some of his Norman Rockwell type shots. But I will say this, whether it's a movie I've liked or not, one thing I'll say about Michael Bay, his movies are visually stunning, Kevin.
Yes. Chris says, sorry, never been a Michael Bay fan. I'm kind of curious to know why. I like to understand people's reason why. I've always enjoyed the theater experience, and he gives me just that. I like his visual styles. I question some of the storylines of some of his films, but I enjoy his style. I like the way he frames things. I love the way that he frames characters discussing things with each other. And I love the way he his attack on action. And I love the roundabout thing he did, more famous in Bad Boys 2. I know he's returned to that. The only film that I just can't stand is Pain and Gain. Not to mention maybe one of the last Transformers films, the ones with Mark Wahlberg. But most of the other films I'm a fan of. Six Underground I enjoyed. 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi was fantastic. Armageddon, of course, and The Rock. And I'm a fan of his style. I always look forward to the signature Michael Bay things. But the things that I just said I like, people really love hating on him for these reasons. And but the things that I noticed too is he gets a lot of cooperation from the U.S. military, because he showcases them. He showcases real military people in scenes. I love the fact that we get military realistic moments when they're called for. And I think he's got a great team with that. But yeah, pretty much what I like, other people don't like. So I guess that's it.
Lacey, what about you? What are your thoughts on Michael Bay?
I love Michael Bay. I went back to college to get my degree in my 30s, and I was in class with a whole lot of, we'll just say, youngins, whippersnappers, and there was a lot of like hate for Michael Bay and several other kind of current stuff. And I kind of turned around one day, I was like, I was able to use Michael Bay as an example in a paper for the Battleship Potemkin staircase scene that was reused in The Untouchables. And I got a lot of crap for it. And I was like, it's okay to like Michael Bay and John Ford. You can like, Jane Campion and Peter Berg. You don't have to, it's just, you have to like it for the reason you see film. I like fun action, comedy, he's really good at that, and he doesn't apologize for it. And I love that. So
I also think that there was a narrative train that people jumped on, not really knowing what they should really know. What I mean by that is that I think there were some very loud Bay haters out there, and maybe something that turned people off or whatever, and people jumped on the train and not really explaining or defending their negative ways of why they didn't like Michael Bay movies. And I haven't really seen anyone articulate what they don't like about Michael Bay films, because I've heard one or two and they made reasons for it. But then I look at their other film choices and I'm going, yeah, but you like these films and they're doing similar things.
Yep.
You know, there's a certain narrative, there's a certain way you approach these type of films. But I do have some knocks on Bay, and we'll get into that in a second. But I haven't found a lot of really intelligent discussion on the Bay hate. It's just, I hate Michael Bay. I hate his films. I will not see his films. That's the narrative that I'm hearing. I'm not hearing intelligent discussion on why they prefer not to like Michael Bay. So I challenge you, Bay haters out there, start an intelligent discussion and tell me why. Show me why and compare it to other films to why you think they did it better than he did it. Okay? I'm just going to put that challenge out there because I'm not seeing that.
So for me, I am a Bay fan. Most of his films I've enjoyed. I think, and Kevin, we talked a little bit about this before the show started. I think there's 2 points where I think people started to turn on Michael Bay a little bit.
Yeah.
One is what he did with the Transformers franchise. I'm a fan of the first Transformers film he did. I think it's fun. I think he paid tribute to where he was pulling the material from. Then he started with the second one just getting a little bit more ridiculous, and the length of the Transformers movies got insane. Transformers movies should not be 3-hour films.
Yeah, they got way too long. Yeah, that's a knock I would put on it as well. That's fair. Definitely.
Wasn't the second one that got some racial hate too because of the two of the Autobots were?
Yeah. There was some issue there, but I think actually the film where people really kind of the turn started for Bay, and it's a film I actually like. It's a guilt. If you want to call it a guilty pleasure, fine. Is Pearl Harbor, because I think people just didn't care for some of the choices he made in that, maybe some of the few historical inaccuracies he had in that film. Kevin, we were talking about this before the show started, and you had some thoughts on that too.
Yeah, I think that with Michael Bay, with Pearl Harbor, a combination of the relationships, whether it's the romantic relationships combined with Attack of Pearl Harbor, and then some of the directions that he took and liberations that he took with history rubbed people the wrong way with that, and combining them both. But there's some beautiful shots in that film. There's some really good moments in that scene. And I felt that the one of the worst moments in American history, he was able to capture that part. But I think, the love interest and all that kind of stuff. And then it kind of went again where they attacked the Japanese harbor and they had to land in China and all that kind of stuff. That kind of like was kind of pushing it a little bit, even though it's based on things and all that kind of stuff. I think that's where people kind of went, but I think, when it comes to the relationships in that film, with Kate Beckinsale and the other relationships as well, I think that brought in a lot of other people that maybe weren't Bay fans that did like it for one reason or another. But I did see a lot of pushback with Pearl Harbor for those reasons that we've brought up.
Lacey, you have some thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, okay. So first of all, when you're talking about like historical inaccuracies with Pearl Harbor, you have to also look at the writer. The writer was Randall Wallace. Randall Wallace he did We Are Soldiers. He did Braveheart. He wrote Braveheart. I mean, he writes a lot of in the foxhole kind of movies, right? Or in like battle films. Like that's kind of his oeuvre, if whatever. So if you want to talk about historical inaccuracies, I think that there's a conversation to be made for Michael Bay and Randall Wallace having a conversation is like, where do we draw the line and how do we make it palatable for the masses while still maintaining some of the basic factual nature of the event itself. So I don't know. I don't think that's going to be all on Michael Bay, is what I'm saying. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes when it comes to, especially things, war films and stuff like that, I think that there's a lot of walking the line as far as what is what's going to keep the tone of your movie intact. So
yeah, and I did want to give shout out to Chris here. He says, so it may make me petty, but I don't want to see any more of his stuff because of how he let me down with Transformers. It's not an intelligent reason, and I know it, but I don't care. I actually think that's a really good reason. There was a, it's the reason I don't go. I could see how. I think the way that he handled Transformers going on, especially after the first one, is how a lot of people feel about Rian Johnson, The Last Jedi. There is a stigma there. It's like, I don't really want to see anything that Rian Johnson's done since, what he did. There's other people on the side of that love what he did with Star Wars. But, I love Rian Johnson's style. I like the was it the Glass Onion and the Knives Out movies. I thought he's good. And of course, I loved Looper. We recently covered Looper on there. But that does leave a stigma with fans. And let's be honest too, those last few Transformer films were too formulaic, and the battle scene, I'll just put it this way. Those movies wore me out on action scenes where if your action is way too long, I'm going to just kind of tune out and wait for the drama between the characters unfold instead. Mm-hmm. And Aaron and I have had this conversation too, that we have action fatigue. And I think he did that to the top with those last few Transformer films. They were just way too long. Everything was just like blah, 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 flash, 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 explosion, explosion, explosion. And they did not need to be over 3 hours long, way too long. And I could definitely see why people want to do that. But I felt like he pulled that back when he went to other films, like especially with the 13 Hours film based on a true story. That's gut wrenching in parts and scary, but fantastically done in a way. And he paid tribute to those guys and those people that lost their lives during that true event. And I really enjoyed 6 Underground. It was fun and stylistic. It was great. And he pulled it back a little bit, but there were still some good moments. Chris, I'm not going to blame you for that opinion. That is actually a very valid opinion.
Yeah, I agree there. But guys, let's get back to The Island.
Yes.
This was a film that Michael Bay did before he really blew up. Let me ask you this one last thing with Bay, because I think it ties into the discussion of The Island. What was the movie that you really feel like put Michael Bay at that next level? Because my personal opinion, it was Armageddon.
For me, it was The Rock.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say definitely The Rock. That was a big movie.
Yeah,
and
right.
But that's... I think when it came down to, Armageddon was just a big like CG and big cast, and I love the cast, but sometimes the cast can overshadow a lot of stuff. Don't get me wrong, I love Armageddon, but to me, when it came down to becoming a really good effing action director, Bad Boys 2 was phenomenal. So phenomenal that Edgar Wright made a movie called Hot Fuzz and paid extreme wonderful tribute to that movie. There was scene that is just a fantastic action film from beginning to end. And that's where I feel like he really, his pinnacle of action with a cast brought down a little bit. You had 2 partners with some great supporting cast. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic when it comes to action.
I think when it comes to The Island, and the more I think about this, I think it might be one of Michael Bay's most balanced films.
That's a good way to put it.
It's got a great story, some amazing action sequences, some great performances. That's just my personal opinion on that. Lacey?
It's The Matrix if the bad guys were humans.
In a way, yeah. That is true.
It's they're using them as batteries for their own bodies. So, basically, you've got a few people who figure out what's going on and they want to figure out the whole deal. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think that that's it's an interesting way of kind of making a comparison. But I think it is. It's the Matrix with the bad guys are humans, and it's what one person will do to, cash in. Because realistically, if you're talking about it from the standpoint of people, using, organ farms and that kind of stuff, the people who have bought these policies don't know that. They just think it's, they're growing their own tissues in,
Yeah, they don't realize they're growing a full. Yeah, they
Right.
don't realize they're growing a full extra human.
Right. So
Yeah.
until that is known, I think that the one bad guy you can kind of call out is the the character of the real human that Ewan McGregor plays, where he sort of realizes that, okay, well, I don't care. I'm gonna call him and send it back.
I want to touch on what you said, Kyle, about how balanced this film is. Okay, first of all, you've got your action, you've got your futuristic setting, you've got your character building, you've got a little bit of romance in there. But what's interesting is that they explain why they do things the way they do. The one thing that really I thought was smart with this film was that they explain why they have to make sure these clones just don't hang around and become a prisoner, that they are allowed to socialize, they're allowed to do their things. That's why they regulate their what they eat. But they're allowed, they want to stimulate their brains, because it makes the parts in them, or whatever reason, whatever they use for them, healthier and better. And that, it keeps them in an active situation. I'm paraphrasing it. I'm not articulating as well as they said it in the film, but I like that they addressed that. Why are they living in this society? Why are they playing games? Why are they working and doing things? And why are they allowed to be social, but not too social, where they have to keep distance and not have the sex and blah, blah, blah. I love how they address all that. And then you get to see what happens when, people are like, hey, I want to adopt a kid. You get to see that parent side of it, but the parent side of it don't realize that the mom just got killed, and it's a horrifying idea of what could happen in the future. And yet it makes you think about it, and it makes you like, what if you were, Lincoln 6 Echo? What if you were a parent of one of these childs, and this all comes to life, and you found out what happened to the parent of the baby that you just adopted? It brings up all these questions, not to mention these fantastic action scenes in between that were just awesome. And, Ewan playing against himself, and then, Ewan and Scarlett's character, I thought, had great chemistry. The guys that were in there, what's the actor that plays Phlox? Or was it Phlox?
Yeah, yeah.
Peter something. Peter Billingsley? No, Peter something. I can't remember. He was great. He was he was trying to figure out why Ethan Phillips. I'm sorry. Yeah. Ethan Phillips. And there was the guy that was always questioning, is lottery real? And it's just, there was a lot. You said it right, Kyle. It is a really balanced Michael Bay film.
I do want to say something about the baby, though, because that was she used herself as a surrogate. Like, she and her husband inseminated a clone of herself to have that baby. So she thinks that they literally just grew it in a lab. She has no clue, but it is her own DNA. It's their DNA that, produced this infant. And so, like you're saying, when that comes to light, you realize that not only did you farm a baby, but you also farmed yourself and then murdered yourself.
Yeah.
Just so that, and if you listen to the commentary, Michael Bay is very clear that this situation came into being because his statement was, because I imagine that the situation was that she was a very wealthy woman and she didn't have time to be pregnant and she wanted a baby, so she just sort of farmed it out to someone else. And then, because why should she have to have stretch marks, and why should she have to go through the pain and all this kind of stuff? And that's very much it's a class it's a dissection of class, and how people are treated. And if you take a look at it from that point of view, you can really dissect it into the haves and the have-nots.
I would have really have liked a moment though where it wasn't just Ewan McGregor coming against, you know, his character, his clone, his real human half. I would have liked to have seen either Scarlett have a moment. I know we got that thing on the video conference with the boy, and the boy goes, "Mommy," you know, that was a little creepy, but yeah. So Kyle.
So here's my feeling on the island. I actually think it's a very good film. I think it's highly entertaining. It's an intelligent story. It's well acted. I think it's been pushed into fandom oblivion because of Michael Bay.
Yeah.
I think also too because it didn't really do that well at the box office. It didn't get a big run. I think it doesn't get that much play even on cable. And I think, you know,
every now and then it peaks around on cable though, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Every now and then.
It pops up every once in a while, but I think it's because, of course, Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson have much bigger franchises that they're a part of that get much more play than The Island. Yeah. To me, this is a movie that should be saved from oblivion. I think it's first of all, it is the film that really kind of brought us Scarlett Johansson. So I think it's got importance just in that.
Is the name hurting it too, Kyle? I need to bring that into the discussion. I feel like the name is killing it a little bit.
I think it does take away from what the concept of the film is actually about. So I do think I can agree with you there, but like I said, I personally feel it's one of Michael Bay's most balanced films. This and The Rock probably are probably the right. two. And I just think that this one's gotten lost in the ether because of Bay hate, and there's no reason for it to be, because it's, whether Michael Bay is involved or not, it's a phenomenal film with a phenomenal cast and just so well acted and a very intelligent, thought out story.
And if you want to see, you know, Black Widow and Obi-Wan Kenobi go at it in a MMA cage match, this is your jam. There's some really fun, crazy scenes.
It's definitely a save from oblivion for me. I would love to see more discussion about this. You know what? There's a part of me that would love to have seen the sequel, because I have a feeling that wouldn't have been the only cloning location, you know, because they're raking in billions of dollars. So I would be curious to see if there was more and where they would be.
They had Defense Department contracts. Come on.
Exactly. Yeah. It went far.
So, guys, I think we're all in agreement. We are saving the island from fandom oblivion. But because this is a Michael Bay movie, there's one more thing I need to add to this podcast. We were required to hit at least one explosion quota for this podcast.
That was great, Kyle. I was like, wait a minute, don't we? Oh, yeah, there's the explosion.
We've got to have the explosion. But I want to thank everybody for joining us. We've saved the island from oblivion. Kevin is getting ready to go to Australia, which means I'm going to be running the ship for a little bit here myself. We're going to have I got a few ideas here once my brain gets fully healed, which will be a couple more good nights of sleep. I'll be there.
I just want to let you know more Couch Potato Theater are coming. We got new categories we're having fun with. We debuted several of those categories for Roadhouse with Anthony DeLongis on there. So make sure you look out for the future fun new categories for Couch Potato Theater.
Yes, Miss Lacey.
And also, before we wrap up The Island, if you get a chance to watch on DVD or Blu-ray, the commentary is really fascinating. Michael Bay tells some stories about how he got the idea and how he met this prince of an unnamed country who has a bad heart, and he literally like bought a child off of a couple, and he travels with this plane that's got a medical suite, and he's literally has this guy on standby for when his heart goes bad.
Oh wow!
I mean, there's a whole lot of information in this commentary. It's like,
oh wow, that's fascinating.
I hope the prince doesn't listen to this, and I was like, oh my god. Like, there's a lot of information in this podcast. And also he says, you know, I think Scarlett Johansson's really great. I think she's going to have a great career ahead of her. You think? It's adorable.
Wait, Kevin, if I'm remembering, wasn't Scarlett like 19 when she made this?
No, she was like 22 or 21, I think.
She was really young.
Yeah, so. Yeah.
Well, guys, you have been watching Culture Clash Live here on the Fandom Podcast Network. We appreciate all of you tuning in, whether it's been on our YouTube channel or if you're listening to us later on the audio version of the show or going back and watching it on the YouTube channel as well. We love our fans. We do this for you. This is why we do this. and it's always so much fun to be doing this. You know, and I got to give a special shout out again to my co-founder, Mr. Reitzel, who just stepped up above and beyond while I was tied up in tax season, and he has no idea just how appreciative I am of all the work he did, because he did a ton. His eyes might be popping out of his head from notes. I'm just saying. So
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
He has earned his time to reunite with the lovely Aaron Gill, Reitzel Gill, and we miss you, Aaron. We hope we see you soon, and yeah, you treat him well, because he's gonna need recovery after the Australian boys have their way with him. So
Adam and Blair are looking forward to seeing you, my brothers over there. So we'll see you soon, guys. Love you, Aaron. We'll see you soon.
We all love you, Aaron. Lacee, I might be recruiting you in as a guest co-host while Kevin's gone.
Sure.
I'm forewarning you now. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm in.
So, of course, too, it's been Culture Clash, episode 247, Safe from Oblivion, the Island. Of course, you can find the Fandom Podcast Network in so many places. Obviously, if you're watching now, you've been watching on our YouTube channel. We thank you. Please like and subscribe and share our channel. We're continuing to try and grow it and make it even something more special for everybody. Of course, if you listen to these audio podcasts, there's plenty of places to find them, whether it's on Podbean, which is the home of our audio podcast page, or you can find them on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, so many places. We are all over the place. Of course, to visit our Facebook page for the Fandom Podcast Network, where we try to keep you updated with all the latest news going on in fandom. And of course, too, I am Kyle. You can find me on social media on X, aka Twitter, aka whatever will be named next week, at @KyleW, and you can find me on Instagram and Threads at @KyleFandom. And if you want to follow me on Letterboxd, I need to sit down and do some work and get my Letterboxd updated, but that's KSport16 on Letterboxd. Kevin, where can people find you on social media?
First, I want to thank everyone in the chat: Chris, Adam, Blair. God, who else was in there? I forgot who else.
David Lozano.
David was on there, and thank you guys for all doing. Appreciate you guys checking in. You can find me on Spartan_Phoenix on X, Instagram, Threads, Letterboxd, and now Discord.
Yes, Discord. We are entering the Discord world. Look out, Lacee. We know you're not as present on social media, but we love having you on the Fandom Podcast Network place. But I know there's a couple places people can find you.
Yes, I am on the Facebook. I am on X, Twitter, whatever. I have a Threads. Haven't started using it yet. I have a Blue Sky or Big Sky. I don't know. Blue Sky. Is it Blue Sky? Okay. I have Letterboxd, Instagram, and I do. Oddly enough, I've had Discord for a minute, because that's how we do the Dragon Con of it all. So I'm Lacey Pants at most of those places, and if you can't find me under Lacey Pants, I'm the Lacey Pants.
With that, guys, it is time for us to close out this episode of Culture Clash. Again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Kevin, have a great time and have a very happy anniversary.
Thanks,
Lacee,
sir.
I will be recruiting you into things shortly, so you've been forewarned.
Cool.
I'm glad to be back from tax season. I'm looking forward to getting back into the podcasting thing and spending time with all you wonderful people out there. A couple quick shout outs for me too. Tomorrow is my mom's birthday. Happy birthday to my mom. Also, a friend of mine, her daughter is turning 18 this weekend. So happy birthday, Brooke. Everybody else out there, as always, here at the Fandom Podcast Network, remember the important things. Respect each other and enjoy your fandom. And with that, this episode of Culture Clash is out of here.
Thanks, Chris.